Greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch it, it becomes nothing.
Johnston. And a goal by Johnston. That makes it 2 by him.
We were magnificent. Magnificent.
Larson. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson. That is sensational. Nakamura.
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
He's done it! Jarman's put it in, and without a doubt, the European Cup is on its way.
We'll never stop. We'll stop at half time, and we'll stop at the end of the game when we celebrate.
Yes, and welcome to another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. Today is Saturday, the 22nd of January. I'm your host, Gavin, and we're joined by Paddy. Paddy, how are you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Another victory for us to talk about, so it's never a dull moment, is it?
Keep on with the victories. So tonight was Alloa against Celtic. It was the Scottish Cup 4th round. Saturday evening kickoff. I think it clashed with a lot of people's weekend plans, but we are supporters, so we'll put things to the side while other people might be watching. I don't know, Strictly Come Dancing. We are more dedicated than that. So, Alloa and Celtic, we ended up finishing 2-1. It wasn't going to be a pretty performance. We knew that. And it certainly was not. Was it a wee bit closer than anticipated? A wee bit skittish at times, Paddy? What do you reckon, mate?
I wasn't expecting like a fucking an extermination of the Wasps or anything like. But I thought, it'd have been a kind of a resounding victory for Celtic, maybe like a 2-0, 3-0, 4-0 game. As it turned out, it was 2-1, which was a wee bit more respectable in the scoreline for Alloa than it was for Celtic. But it was still a commanding performance enough of ourselves. But there was still a few kind of ropey moments where we could have done a lot better. But we'll kind of dissect that as we go on, Gav, I think. But just before we start, obviously it's Saturday night, and me, Gav, I like to enjoy myself. I saw a few snippets for the Rangers game last night, and as some people might know, it's the first game at Ibrox after the new year, and they have this ridiculous Masonic-esque tradition of passing round the loving cup and having a wee sip of whiskey and toasting the Queen. So tonight...
To the viewers, I never knew anything about this. I've never heard of it before. So Paddy explained it to me just before we went live, and I was flabbergasted. It's very, very bewildering. Paddy,
yes, mate. It's one of the most sinister things that you can actually watch on YouTube. So yes, Mr. Douglas Park had his cup last night with his whiskey, raising a toast to the Queen. So tonight, Gav, I've got my cup, I've got my whiskey, and I'll be raising a toast to the Pope. Get up, he's.
That's a good report. I do like it.
Not a bigoted direct, just for the sake of being controversial.
It's a fucking weird tradition. Anyway,
it's horrible. Anyway, fuck you, cunts.
To the viewers who are watching the live draw, it's just been confirmed that we've got Wraith Rovers in the next round. So I think that's at Parkhead. Am I right, Paddy?
Yes, I believe so, mate. I believe so.
And hello to Pally with Paddy. By the way, you did an interview with Alan Thompson. So to our viewers who are watching, please check out his interview with Alan Thompson. It should be a belter. And Alan Thompson, of course, is promoting his new book. So please, guys, check it out and try and subscribe to Pally with Paddy's YouTube channel.
And just on that as well, Gav, I had a wee chat with you earlier on, Podrick. So thanks very much for that, mate. If anybody's watching, you'd like to watch your podcast, our good pal Dale at the Celtic Supporters Podcast. He done a great interview yesterday with Pally, with Podrick. I would advise you to go and have a watch. It's a great watch, great chat for the two guys. Great Frank speaking as well. So it was a great watch, and I'm really sorry I didn't get a chance to watch it until today. So get a wee watch, guys. Celtic Supporters Podcast and Pally with Podrick Podcast.
100%.
There's fucking, speaking of devil, there's Dale popping up as well. What's happening, Dale boy? You slag.
So Wraith Rovers then at home for the next round. And who did Rangers get? Was it away to Annan Athletic?
I believe so, mate. What a nice draw for him again.
Well, I didn't watch the draw myself. I just heard it for you. But unless they get on Rod Stewart again, I don't think I'll ever be interested. You can't really do that.
Remember the state of that wee cunt.
Oh, Alan Stubbs, was at that one as well. He was loving it, man. I don't know how we kept a straight face. Anyway, actually getting to the game. So, of course, it was the fourth round. We're away to Alloa, and they play on a plastic pitch. So, it was one of the ones. It was never going to be an easy on the eye performance. It was a good chance to see, with us knowing that we came into tonight's game knowing that Maeda would be playing for his country, Japan. Again. So it was a good chance to get him playing tonight before he had to go away. And another thing, it was quite important to see what Giakoumakis could do to give him some game time, get him some match fitness, and just get his confidence up as well, and hopefully start off with a goal, which he did. But just to kind of take it back further, the lineup itself, we had rotated, especially in the defence. So we started off with Hart and goals. We've got Scales at left back, we've got Starfelt and Welsh at centre back, and Ralston coming on at right back. In the midfield, we've got McGregor, Rogic, and Gucci. I thought that Rogic might have actually been kept away for this one because it was a plastic surface, but he came through it unscathed, which I would actually give him a medal for that because it turned a wee bit violent, especially in the second half. Up front, you've got Giakoumakis through the middle, and dovetailing him, you had Maeda and you had Abada. By the way, at the bench, we had the return of Julian. I think.
Yes. Dundee United, December 2020, Gav, was the last time we saw Julian.
Aye. A long time out. And by the way, the mental fortitude that you need to actually come through an injury like that, and after having the setback that he had, fair play to the guy, he must be a mentally strong chap. But aye, so Bain on the bench, I thought we might have actually started with Bain tonight, but I'm kind of glad we didn't because Hart actually did have a good save to make. Yes. But Julian, Taylor, Beaton, McCarthy, Jota, Rio Hitachi, Forrest, and Juranovic. I think a few of the players who were benched tonight might have been thanking the lucky stars because A, they never get injured, and B, who would have wanted to play in that plastic pitch fucking cold January night. So, Paddy, the actual bench itself, any surprises to you?
No, I think it's same as yourself, Gav. I thought Hart might have got a rest today, especially with the news coming out, just a couple of days ago that Scott Bain has signed a new contract. So I was expecting Bain to be playing tonight. But other than that, it was a fairly strong lineup. Delighted to see Giakoumakis starting up front, especially after the news that Maeda is going to be on international duty with Japan for the smelly, dirty Muco game, Glasgow Derby, as we're all going to call it now. So he's going to miss that. So we needed a proper striker playing, and Giakoumakis got the nod tonight. And I think he done well overall. I know some people are maybe kind of not really enamoured with a few parts of his play, but I thought he played pretty well.
I think I get you where you're coming from. A lot of people were quite lukewarm about Giakoumakis. A lot of people have heard me written off his chances already. I think his kind of bull in a china shop style, if you want to call it like that. And by the way, it's still early doors, so I don't want to kind of tag him with that type of player that he is. But I think people were perhaps of a mind that he might not be fitting in sync with the type of play that we have. Woody, my mates, came in with that. Good evening, guys. Glad it's over before Ferguson's hatchet men took more Celtic players out, mate. 100%, 100%. And let's kind of talk about Alloa going into this game. So, of course, Barry Ferguson, our old friend, is the manager of them. They were sitting 8th in League One. So, yes, it's not just a championship team, it's League One. So, there's 2 divisions between us. And, of course, they're 8th. I think they're like three places from bottom. So, that paints a picture. They've played 21 games in the league. They've won 5, they've drawn 7, and they've lost 9. However, to come away with a 2-1 narrow scoreline, one of the ones, we got the victory, we're through to the next round. No, we didn't have to go into the time. But Paddy said earlier on, that scoreline does flatter them. And the pre-match thoughts as well. We even had Connor Salmon. He's a blast for the past. He's been playing in Scotland for a long time. And
Big Salmon's going to be the worst striker I've ever seen, like technical wise. He's obviously one of these big guys who he's like a big cart horse. He tries his heart out. He'll always give you 110%. But technically wise, it's like asking a fucking horse with with 3 legs to go and run a Kentucky Derby. You know what I mean?
Yes, we would never do that, of course.
Absolutely not.
He's a total kind of flat track bully.
Sorry, Gav. There's a comment for Yeet Kayit. Has the draw started yet? Yes, mate. It has. It's also finished as well. Celtic got Raith Rovers and fuck the rest of them. I couldn't care less.
Yeah. For any of the viewers, if any of you know how Raith Rovers are doing this season, please give us a wee update to let us know if we should be kind of. We're never going to be fearful, but if we should respect them, you know, or be completely dismissive of them. But going into the game. So it was one of them, as I was saying, Giakoumakis, he needs to get his confidence, he needs to get his goal for today, and he certainly did that. But by the way, it could have went so badly in the opening minute or so. So, as you know, our fullbacks like to come into the centre of the park. And at that point, we had Ralston deputising today for Josip Juranovic. So Ralston comes in at the centre of the park. He picks up possession, but he had somebody on his arse without being able to really take a touch. And the ball, I know, wrong choice of word.
Sounds kinky.
Start of the night, mate. You don't know where this is going. And the ball falls to Connor Salmon. And Salmon goes for I don't want to call it the Charlie Adam-esque goal, but Salmon tries to chip Hart, and he hit it over the bar, but Hart was way outside his box, man. It could easily have went pear-shaped at that early stage of the game, Paddy.
It's one of the ones, Gav, but it was a kind of speculative effort for Salmon, and Salmon certainly don't get any qualities of like fucking Rooney, Beckham, Zidane, anybody like this, you know what I mean? So I think Joe Hart could have been standing on the opposite goalkeeper's touchline and Salmon still couldn't have scored. I know he scored later on, but do you know what I mean? Fair play.
Right, let's go into the Giakoumakis goal. So this was on like the 14th minute, I think it was.
14th minute, yeah.
And you've got Liam Scales is on the left. He's quite advanced up on the left wing, and he floats in a delightful ball. It was kind of like waist height. And Giakoumakis, he was in amongst the defenders. He could anticipate the ball coming in, and he outstrengthed his marker. He got ahead of him. At that point, the goalkeeper didn't know whether to kind of stay in his line or come out, but Giakoumakis made it beautifully. It was like a side-foot volley, and it went into the roof of the net. So for a start for Giakoumakis, after being out for so long, a brilliant beginning to the game, and that's just what you want your striker to start off the game with so much confidence, mate.
I know it was only Alloa that we were playing, but as you say, Scales is out wide on the left. He puts in a great ball, kind of chest height. Giakoumakis at that point, when the ball leaves Scales' foot, Giakoumakis is already preempting this, so he's already made the movement in between the two central defenders. He's ghosted in, mate. He's had a great side foot volley. Perfect finisher's goal. I don't care if it was against Alloa or fucking Aberdeen or fucking Atletico Madrid, mate. It was a great striker's finish. And that's what we want to see for a guy who's going to probably be playing as a striker, because we're missing Maeda. We've not got a Jetty because he's shite. We've no Kyogo because he's injured. So Giakoumakis is going to be your number one striker. So he starts off again with a beautifully taken goal. And good stuff. Great stuff. Great, and of course, great cross for Scales as well, by the way.
Yeah, it was pitch perfect. In fact, unless you've been living under a rock, this is why we need Giakoumakis to really get a good run of games now, because he's going to be out for Hearts, Rangers, and Dundee United. I think in that order. We're really going to depend on him, and we don't know how long Kyogo is actually going to be out for. But a minute later, it was. Giakoumakis had a brilliant chance. He's like through on goal. He manages to take it round one Alloa centre back. I think he just falls in his arse at that point. But Giakoumakis is running on goal, a one-on-one with the keeper. Now at this point, he's got the recovering defender on his back. And you could see that he was almost preoccupied in shielding the ball off the defender rather than being aware fully of the situation, because the keeper at this point is coming out to him. And if Giakoumakis maybe have had the presence of mind to realise that Maeda was making an intelligent run just a few yards away from him on his left-hand side, then they could easily have started to get into Maeda. But I don't think he was really aware of that. And at that point, with the preoccupation of the defender behind him and the on-rushing keeper, he tries to go for the finish. And It was a bit of an odd decision-making moment for him. He goes for the chip, but it kind of trickles out of play on the right-hand side of the post. A wee bit strange, but I'm not going to be too harsh on the guy. What did you think of that? Was that the good and the bad of Giakoumakis of what we've learned so far?
Well, it was poor. Let's be honest, Gav. It was poor finishing. But what you could maybe put that down to is kind of lack of regular games. You know, if he's in a settled forward line, he's going to know that Maeda's kind of he's backing him up. Jota's maybe on that side, so he probably didn't know who was where. You know what I mean? There's maybe a wee bit of miscommunication, but at the same time, like, he could have probably put his laces through the ball or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But he's not the quickest guy in the world, so where he got the ball, but at the time that he moved himself forward, he'd already kind of had a couple of guys on him, kind of started to pull him back. You know, I actually thought at one point it wasn't actually him that kicked the ball, because the defender had recovered so, well, I say quickly, Giakoumakis was slow as fuck. But the defender was right on his arse straight away, so I actually thought it was the defender that got to touch, but it wasn't. It was Giakoumakis. He's tried to chip the goalkeeper to the side. Again, it wasn't the greatest decision making, but that will come over time. We've seen what he can do instinctively with the first goal that he scored. You know what I mean? That's total striker's instincts, Gav. Get yourself into the perfect area. Get yourself onto the end of a cross. Open up your feet. Get it on target. Sometimes with a striker, when you're left with that few seconds, kind of split decision where you've got to make a decision, sometimes you can maybe overthink it a wee bit. Like that, he could have just put his laces through the ball, put it to the side of the keeper. Keeper's not the greatest, we need to disrespect him, but he's tried to go for a kind of rough kind of chip. It's no work to it, but these things will come. The guy's only going to get better, I'm assuming, with the more regular game time that he gets, because I know a lot of people's written him off. I was talking to McGinty earlier on, one of the other boys that does a podcast with us. He's kind of sceptical, is the nicest way to put it. He's sceptical on Giakoumakis. I quite like what I've saw, even though it's only kind of a few wee snippets here and there. But I just think that we're having a guy like Giakoumakis, especially when you've got a forward like Kyogo who's 5'7", then you've got Maeda who's about 5 foot nothing. Albeit they've got different qualities, different positions. I think it's great that you've got a guy like Giakoumakis who is going to offer you a different angle. Like, he's got the strength, he's got the physicality, he's a bullish, you know what I mean? He can hold the ball up, he can get himself into the positions like we saw tonight.
If I was to put you on the spot, sorry, what do you prefer from what you've seen so far of Giakoumakis? What do you prefer about him compared to Ajeti?
Ajeti?
Yeah, if you were to compare Giakoumakis to Ajeti, what have you seen so far of Giakoumakis that you think that maybe he can make it at Celtic, why he can thrive?
I just think I think he's physically a superior man. Do you know what I mean? And that's no slight on Ajeti. I just think sometimes Ajeti, you look at him, and it's weird because 1 week Ajeti will look athletic, 1 week he'll look fat as fuck, sluggish, lazy. You know what I mean? I don't think there's the greatest of applications there with Ajeti. We need a guy there who's going to be ready and raring to go in terms of rotation, injuries, ready to step in. And I think Giakoumakis is that type of guy. And the good thing as well is that Ange's actually spoke about that, Gav, and he said that Giakoumakis over the Christmas period there was training like fuck. He was in Lennox every single day. He never missed a day. The guy is ready and raring to go. And you look at his goal scoring exploits last season, fantastic. Top goal scorer of the Eredivisie. I know previous to that it wasn't that great. Some could call it a purple patch, but hopefully we're getting a guy who's coming off the back of a great goal scoring season. You know what I mean? And we can get some good out of that. Even if he's not going to be the number one kind of striker, we still need a squad. We need a better squad than what we've seen. We can't just rely on having one great striker and fucking a couple of inferior players ready to just step in when he's injured. Again, we need a superior squad. You know what I mean? And I'm happy to have Giakoumakis in that, and I'm glad he got a goal tonight. So that's me. I'm happy.
Aye. And my last point on that, I wouldn't claim to be a psychologist, but if you look at the trajectory of Ajeti, who's been surplus to requirements of West Ham, and he's dropped down to the Scottish football level. But then if you compare that to Giakoumakis, who is going from VVV Venlo and there weren't any kind of domestic Dutch offers coming in for him, but he's managed to get the chance to step up at Celtic. Maybe he's got more of a spring in his step to do well at Celtic and to prove himself at this level, whereas Ajeti might find him, again, I don't want to write Ajeti off or claim to know anything about his mindset, but perhaps Ajeti thinks that it's not worth it, he's above this level, I do not know.
Gav, it's a strange one with Ajeti, because I think Ajeti's actually got the quality there to be the number one striker for Celtic, but I think, like himself and Barkas, possibly Shane Duffy out of that equation as well, guys that joined during the pandemic, you know, these were guys that came in to Celtic and they never actually got to fully immerse themselves in the club. When they came in, they were having to go and live in a hotel. They weren't getting to go and kind of socialise with the guys. You had Neil Lennon talking about building a social room at Lennoxtown, because when basically these guys were coming in during the pandemic, they were coming in to train, and they were literally having to go straight back to a hotel and sit in there for hours. So that kind of side I can understand with Barkas, Ajeti, Shane Duffy, Laxalt, whoever. But at the same time, it's up to the player to then raise their game up to a level where they're going to be good enough to play for the club. Barkas has done it. Ajeti has done it. Ajeti doesn't even look like he's going to do it. He's showed it a couple of times this season, in pre-season and kind of early on in the season. But once, twice, three times, is they good enough? Especially now that we're halfway through the season, that's not consistent enough. It's totally. By the way, it's not even inconsistent. It's just not even anywhere near the level required to be a squad player. It's not anywhere near the level required to be a B team player. You know what I mean? So if these guys are on big wages, get them to fuck. No offence. Off you go. Go and start somewhere else, and we'll get guys in that's going to be more suited to the club.
I can't disagree with those sentiments. Just to finish off the remaining part of the second half, of course, we got a goal right at the end, but just to kind of touch on a couple of other points, Maida had quite a good chance. He was running in from the left, and it was a bit of a tight angle at that point. He went for goal. The keeper saved it, went out for a corner, but there might have been a possible pass on to either Jack Marcus or whoever else, Abada running in on goal. But you did what all strikers should be doing and being selfish and going for goal, so no complaints there. And by the way, Salmon had another very, very good chance. This was much better than the Charlie Adam effort that he went for. But the ball was there was a loose ball in our half, and Callum McGregor tried to kind of kick it back to our keeper. It wasn't the best kickback. He kind of underhit it, a back pass to Joe Hart, and the ball fell across Connor Salmon, and the boy does have pace. So Connor Salmon ran onto it. He had a half volley. He was inside our box, slightly on the left-hand side, but still quite central. And Hart had to stand up tall and make a very, very important save. Going in at half-time, if it went one each at that point, it could have kind of changed the complexion of the game. Really, really important. And that's why Hart is there, a top professional, because you might not have to call him for 90 minutes, but maybe just that 1 second within the 90 minutes, that's when you need to kind of rely on your top professionals, and that's why he's there. That's why he's been appreciated so far from us this season.
Aye, well, this is it. Sometimes Joe Hart doesn't make the camera save, but sometimes he makes the most important save. And that one tonight for Salmon, it was a great, actually, the way Salmon caught that with his left foot. I think it was his left foot. He caught it pretty sweetly. It was a decent strike, and like, if I had been Barkas or Bain, that was a goal. You know, Joe Hart, just with his instincts, just kind of opened his body up at the right moment. And he didn't have to do too much, Gav. He didn't have to actually dive for it. He just kind of opened his body up, and he literally got a wee touched it, you know what I mean? And it bounced away. So thank God for that. But again, that was loose play for McGregor. And McGregor, for me, had a very, very poor game tonight, Gav. I really did. Along with Tom Rogic. That's probably the poorest first half I've seen for the two of them this season.
Well, we did allude to Rogic being a little bit rusty in the last game. We spoke about it. Again, don't want to be harsh. We've had like a 3-week layoff, so it can be expected at times for people to come up to speed. But yeah. I think McGregor does go underappreciated sometimes. You don't really appreciate what the number 6 or well, and seeing that he wasn't playing a number 6, more of a kind of number 8. But I agree with you. Roderick wasn't completely at the races today either. But just before we get to the goal for Abada, Cal Mackey goes off with a really, really bad head injury. He goes for a header. Another person kind of challenges him. I don't think there was anything malicious about it, but it was one hell of a knock that he took, and he took a long time to recover. And whenever you see Callum Mack go down, you know that it's something serious. He doesn't go down easily, and a lot of the players were coming over because they knew something was up.
I kind of noticed. Obviously, it was a head injury, Gav, but I kind of noticed him especially holding his face and the way he went down and the way he kind of took his time, and you know the parts of his face that he was indicating to the physio. It looked as if it was one of the ones that could be like a possible fractured cheekbone. You know, because you saw that for players that, you know, they're indicating the same thing and it's kind of similar. So hopefully it's not that bad. Maybe he's just took a right good sore one to the face, and you know he's never took a punch before, and this is kind of a shock to the system, Gav. But hopefully it's not too bad, and he's not going to be out injured for too long. But that being said, since the winter shutdown has opened back up, I don't think he's performed very well, Gav. The only thing that I would say is that his influence is definitely there. You can see that he's bringing guys on. He's doing the captain's job. Potentially, he could be performing better himself, but that's up for debate. The thing is, look at who replaced him. James McCarthy.
You're a big fan of McCarthy?
By the way, I've got nothing against McCarthy. I really don't. But as a Celtic player, Gav, that guy has been fucking awful. Absolutely fucking awful. And when he came on for McGregor, which I thought was probably the kind of, it was a good shout. You could have probably put on Hatate, but you know, bring on James McCarthy, FA Cup winner, Everton, Ireland, whatever. Bring him on against Alloa. You're thinking, good, he'll come on, he'll start to dictate the tempo, he'll mop up, he'll direct the game. Nah, I genuinely can't even remember him kind of imposing himself on the game. I genuinely can't remember a decent kind of, make as much as a decent pass, and it kills me to say it because I've wanted James McCarthy in as a Celtic player for as long as that fucking tap that you're wearing has been alive. But the guy has been atrocious, absolutely atrocious. He is a fucking waste of space.
Well, I've said on it previously on the podcast that I think by the end of the season, the Postecoglou and McCarthy are just going to have an adult chat with each other and just say, look, it's probably not happening for you here. You've got 3 years left of your contract remaining, but what do you want to do? Because you don't fit in my plans. This is me speculating, but saying that you don't fit into my plans. And
see if you look at him, Gav, he doesn't even look confident. You know what I mean? The guy's 30-year-old. He's been there, done it. He's played at an extremely high level, and it doesn't even look confident coming on against Alloa. I just don't get it. And that and all, like, he's obviously, when he comes on, mate, he's coming to play the deepest midfielder, which then pushes Ideguchi on, or Gucci, whatever the fuck he's what to call. He pushes Ideguchi on. That then keeps Roderick as the focal point in midfield. There's a total imbalance.
He doesn't play with a swagger. He certainly does not do that.
But there's just no balance at all when James McCarthy comes on, because what does he do? What has he done for Celtic? He comes on, he'll take a pass off maybe a midfielder or a defender, and he'll pass it to the nearest guy to him. That's no use. Like, Beaton had to come on later on. Beaton has proved that he's a better player than McCarthy.
He's proved it this season, but we've written off Beaton multiple times during the Celtic.
Yes.
But last thing of the first half, we'll eventually get to it. On the 46th minute, Abada, he cuts in from the right-hand side on his left foot, and he fires in a howitzer into the far corner. The keeper didn't even go for it yet. I like that word too, a howitzer. It started off, he was trying to play in a teammate, but he had two players who were doubling up on him, and he tried to play in the pass. It then bounced back to him. So he got a bit fortuitous with that, opened up a little bit of space. It took a yard or two infield, but he was outside the box. A beautiful, beautiful curling effort. And again, that's another player, just like Giakoumakis, that we want for his confidence to be very, very high level going into these next 3 or so games with Hearts, Rangers, and Dundee United. Whenever we're out with them, whenever we're playing without Kyogo. So, a fantastic strike for him. And that brings us into half-time. At that point, you're thinking 2-0 up, half-time, confidence will be high, and we could just try and kind of see the game out from now. But the second half got a wee bit more lively, as we can expect. Let's see that Celtic support podcast. McCarthy can jog on with his wee squeaky lassie's voice back to Hamilton Accies. So another person who shares the same opinion of McCarthy as what you do, Paddy.
No, listen, as I say, I've not got anything personal against McCarthy. I don't want to degrade the guy, but as a player, from kind of what the player has shown over previous years to when he's come in now at this point at Celtic, he just has not shown enough to prove that he's a Celtic player. He's a guy who's got immense experience, immense quality, and can totally elevate that midfield from there to there. But he's not even, he's not done it. He's not done it.
Maybe he can't. Maybe he can't. But maybe it's the end of the road. Maybe that's it.
Well, this is possibly one of these signings, Gav, that you think like.
Let me put the point to you. We spoke about it in the last podcast. Whenever we've been playing this season with Turnbull, okay, so I know that he's a wee bit more further advanced, but we saw the difference in the last game whenever we had Rio Hatate playing in that position rather than Turnbull, and we noticed the possibilities, how dynamic we can be, because at one point he was receiving the ball from a defender, and in the next half second he's already turned his marker and he's on the offensive looking for that through ball. So if you see the type of player that Hatate can be, in contrast, and in comparison and contrast to what Turnbull can do, then again, if you look at McCarthy's position, McCarthy's just not doing it, and we see the possibilities of being more dynamic than what McCarthy's got to offer. So I think the writing is on the wall right now. At the end of the season, they're going to have a grown-ups chat between Ange Postecoglou and McCarthy to see where does he see his future lie, because he can either just sit the rest of his career, or he can have a bit of pride in himself and look further afield. But we'll leave McCarthy.
But this is the thing, Gav. Like, I know this might sound a wee bit controversial, a wee bit of slap in the face, but if I was a Glasgow boy and I'm getting paid to sit my arse for 4 years in Glasgow, guess where I'd be sitting? On my arse in Glasgow. Do you know what I mean?
You'd be on the dole. You'd be on the dole getting in.
Well, it's the fucking best dole. No, I mean, it must be about fucking 15 fucking grand a week. I'd be like, I need bother, mate. Here, super glue. Here, stick it right there, look.
It's the athlete's dole. Aye.
But no. Apart from that, listen, the guys go his critics among the Celtic support, and it's up to him now to show that he's no this kind of washed up has been. So let's see what he can do in the next few weeks, especially when there could possibly be a bit of rotation. I would hate to write him off now because he obviously has got on paper so much to offer.
I think you've well and truly written him off.
I've not written him off. I'm just saying, as of now, he's been totally shite. But he's got a past record. He's got a past record, a past experience to say that he's no shite. So I'm just hoping that he can bring some of that into the team.
Right.
Anyway.
By the way, we should just title this episode the James McCarthy episode. Right.
And the Loving Cup.
Very true. A wee footnote about the Alloa and Celtic. Right, going into the second half. 46 minute. No, in fact, I'm talking fish. Going into the second half, Abada picks up an injury. That's like fairly early doors.
52 minutes, Gav, I think.
Nice one. And he comes off for Jota. Jota, obviously, no, really the game that I'd want to see him being playing on. Never mind the fact that it's Ashley, but he's like a Ferrari, that type of player. You know, you just want him to play for your important game. But certainly no Alloa, and he has to come on. And we're just kind of sitting there with fingers crossed that he does not get injured. He doesn't go up with a hamstring injury. Thankfully, he makes it through to the end unscathed. But later on, Maeda had a really good chance. I think it was Jota who had actually came on, and a few minutes in, he throws in a brilliant cross, and Maeda goes for a diving header, and it's just going between the keeper and the post, but the keeper manages to dive down quite smartly and push that out for a corner kick. So it's quite good to see what Maeda is capable of. And on that note, I wanted to ask you, what did you think of Maeda's overall performance tonight on the fact that he was playing on the left rather than through the front?
Gav, it looked as if it was one of the performances where he was kind of trying to find his way into the game. You know what I mean? It looked as if he was almost a wee bit shell-shocked coming from Japan to Alloa. You know what I mean? He's looking at Juranovic sitting on a brick fucking bench. What I did notice at the start when kind of Maeda and Abada and so on were actually trying to push the game forward, there was 9 Alloa players in the box. So I don't know how many times like a guy like Maeda has come up against a team like Alloa who actually can't put in their own defence. They put 9, 10, 11 guys in the box because it was literally the keeper and Connor Salmon at that end and everybody else was in the defence. Do you know what I mean? So it's possibly that's where the kind of shell shock of the culture comes into it in terms of leagues. But you know, you can't fault the wee guy, Gav. He tried and tried. He plugged away. He had a few shots on target, but the goalkeeper, you know, blocked and this and that. But no, it was a pest. It was a pest all night, which is exactly what you want because.
In the second half, at one point in the second half, he had the chance. It was on the right hand side, and again, it was a kind of tightish angle, but no, it was as tight as the first half chance. And he had the keeper come out to him, and he put it past the post and out for a goal kick. I think he should have scored for that one, but then he had another chance later.
He had a header as well, didn't he?
Yeah. We touched on that. He had that chance later on as well, where he could have went for a goal, but he actually took the right decision at this moment and went for the cutback. Giacomakis tried to get on the end of it, but I think their 38-year-old centre back put in. By the way, that's embarrassing. Their 38-year-old centre back put in a good challenge and stopped the simple attack. So he made the right decision for that latter chance. But
Gav, can I just give a couple of shout outs to the Alloa team and management? Daniel Church, Kevin Colley, 2 ex-Celtic youth players, and Barry Ferguson and Bob Malcolm. What a pair of pricks. Get up, yous. Especially you, fat Bob, you fat baldy hun bastard.
Aye. I think his days of writing autographs are done. Well and
Yes, Gav.
We've got Joe Curran. A good team would have punished us playing like that. Aye, mate. Aye. Half time, Ange got this sorted out. We are better than that. Oh, sorry, is that half time? No, hail, isn't it? Fucking half time.
What about this one? Same old Alloa, always cheating. By the way, you better watch that a certain team don't put in a fucking 8-pointed letter to the SFA.
No. I hope the SFA fucking tell me to get to fuck, because what are you going to do? Like, we're talking about Rangers right now, and against
Gav. Let's leave that for the end, and we'll have a wee laugh. Fair
dues. Well said. Right, okay. That challenge. That put that Gucci. He never had to leave on a stretcher, but that was a horrible challenge. So
yes,
it wasn't a 50-50 ball, but Gucci goes off injured. It was almost an ankle breaker. Now, Niang, it was his ball to go for it. And I want to kind of ask you the point because it looked horrible, but I've got a good question. Niang, he wins the ball cleanly. Well, he wins the ball, but his follow-through is what makes contact with Gucci's ankle. And it's one of the ones where you watch it in slow motion. The ankle goes like that. It's one of the horrible moments where you're bleeding. And he takes the ball, but the follow-through almost killed him. And I was kind of wondering, I don't think that there was any malice in that. But again, if the ball is yours, then how can you counteract that? How can you win the ball and be careful with your follow-through? Because you're not really anticipating your follow-through. All you're thinking about is winning the ball. So if the shoe was on the other foot, if it was a Celtic player, would you be angry if it was us who did that to them? Because the main aim is to win the ball. How can you prevent that? Is that a red card as well?
I don't know, mate. I think it was a bit evident, like the majority of those substitutions tonight were because of injury caused by the opposition team. So that would probably suggest that the trend there is that the other team is being overly physical.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry. You look at who's managing the team, and you look at who's the assistant manager, right? They probably share a brain cell between them, which means that they just say like, "Oh, send them out to attack and go and kick them." Aye, fuck you, Stu. I don't give a fuck who it is. Fucking hate these Barry Ferguson, Bob Malcolm, pair of pricks. They probably set their players out to say, "Look, do you know what? You've not got the quality to go and play against these guys on the park, so probably go and try and injure a few of them for the Rangers game coming up." But at the same time, they're a very small team. And I say this with no disrespect whatsoever. They're a very small team, so they can only play to their strengths. And that's probably being physical and, try to do everything they can to put Celtic out of their stride. And sometimes these things can happen, but then sometimes it just goes over the score. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes ankles do get broken. So
Gav,
John Hartson said...
Gav, sorry. Give me 2 seconds, pal. Just can't await yourself.
Yep. Well, for the viewers, John Hartson, whenever he was on commentary duties tonight, and he said that at first in real time we thought it was a yellow card, but whenever he watched it back in slow motion, he said the more and more that he watched it, it looked like a red card, a definite red card. So I want to get your views on that one. Do you think it should have been an automatic red card? And again, to my question to Paddy earlier on, how do you kind of prevent that? How do you go in for the ball and win it? But how are you able to think about your opponent's welfare as well? How are you able to do that? I don't know if that's actually possible. So apart from that, so at that point, we've got 3 casualties. We've got McGregor, who's went off with a head injury. We've had Abada, who's went off with an ankle knock. And then we've had Gucci as well, going off with an ankle knock as well. So it was quite industrial challenges that were coming from Alloa. And as Paddy is saying, it might have been the tactics of Barry Ferguson and Bob Malcolm to kind of leave a bit on us, because it's kind of out the frying pan and into the fire. We've had so many injuries. We're getting players back, and then we've had fucking 3 more injuries tonight. Hopefully it's not going to be long lasting. McCarthy, I would hope if it was like just that concussion, then McCarthy should be okay. Sorry, McGregor. I'm talking about the injuries tonight. So we've came back from a few people being out injured. They're coming back into it, but then we've had 3 people going off injured. So McGregor, if it's a jaw or a cheekbone, then he could be out for a while. Hopefully not. Yes. If it's just a simple concussion, then he might be able to make the Hearts game for next Wednesday. For Abada, he came back onto the field after to kind of applaud the fans. He did have a limp on him, but he was... it came on to walk, so I think that might be telling. Like if he was that bad, the physio might have just said, "Mate, you go to the physio table and we'll take care of you. You're not going back onto the pitch." So hopefully Abada will be okay for next week. But for Gucci, that certainly looked the worst for Gucci. So Paddy, do you think it should have been a red card, or do you think the referee has got license to be a wee bit more?
It was one of the ones, Gav. It could have went either way, but I'm not particularly incensed about anything. It was, as I say, it was Alloa were they were playing to their strengths. They were playing to interrupt Celtic. They were playing to kind of get involved and stop them from playing football. So there were a few key points where I could have said, like, it was a bit over the top, but as the game's finished, nobody's seriously hurted, possibly other than Callum McGregor, but I don't see that being too much of a problem. I think he's maybe just took a really, really slow one to the face and he's come off as a precaution, especially now with the kind of, what do you call it?
I'm not helping you.
The what do you call the heat injury? The concussion. Okay. Sorry. The concussion kind of protocols that teams have got in place now. If somebody's got kind of double vision or just a wee bit sick, slightest hint of concussion, they've got to come off. So hopefully that's what it was. It's just the slightest concussion, and it's just got to come off.
I don't think that Callum Mack would really suit the Petr Cech headgear, for the rest of his career. So I don't think that would be something befitting of him.
Sorry, Gav. There's Hoggy Boy saying The days of crippling an opposition player for your team to win should be well gone. Yes, Hoggy, I would totally agree with you, but at the same time, it's still a contact sport, and we don't want to take every single bit of contact to it. I don't advocate our team being kicked off the park because the opposition team's inferior, but at the same time, you can kind of understand why a team would try and break up play. As long as they're not going to be two-footed tackles and try to fucking elbow guys in the face, then, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of the ones. Possibly still a bit shocking, but
I wouldn't compare it to like a game against like Vinnie Jones's Wimbledon back in the early 90s. I wouldn't say it was that bad. I think the challenges, although they might have been kind of industrial challenges, if you want to call it that, I don't think that they were overly malicious, you know. But finally, the Alloa eventually got a goal, and if it was going to come from MD, it would have came for Connor Salmon. So that was in the 78th minute. It was a cross in for the right hand side. I think it was a counter attack from Alloa. We shouldn't have given them too much space to actually get the head up and across. But that's what happened, and Salmon drifted in to head home. I think the closest defenders from our perspective to Connor Salmon, and he timed it very well, I will say that, was Anthony Ralston and Stephen Welsh. Would you blame the defenders, or would you just say...
Yes, I would. It was very, very lazy. But just before we go to that, Gav, I've just had a few comments for the guys commenting. And it seems to be the kind of same trend, like Hoggy Boy said that. Obviously, the first one that we already said was the days of crippling opposition players for your team to win should be well gone. We've already covered that. They're all doing the same job. That should be respected. I get that, but Elfin Priest, why did Roderick end up having to ask the physios to come on after like a minute of Calmac lying there, for fuck's sake? That's a good question, but sometimes the physios have got to... I
never noticed that you had to summon them over.
But the physios don't just run on straight away, because that adds on to time on, and it's all tactical. It's like
Jose Mourinho with the
if you remember that, obviously there was an issue with the fucking Mourinho issue. So obviously the physios have just ran on straight away with it, the manager saying jump on. So that's obviously added time on, which then the managers had a problem with. But at the same time, it's a health issue. At the same time, it's a health issue, so you can't really say to the physios, don't fucking run on because I'm running on to help your player. I get that, but I don't think it was that perilous, like, you know, that the physios fucking left 25 minutes to go and run on. But I get your point, Elfin Priest. Same again, Joe Curran. Could we not see these injuries come play Barry's boys? Absolutely. Dale, Celtic Supporters Podcast. Bob Malcolm, Barry Ferguson, that's the reason right there. I'll say that, mate, if you want to cross it out, hun bastards. I think I've already said that, Dale. By the way, can I just say Bob Malcolm looks as if he's been eating like fuck over the Christmas period, you fat baldy unfuck. As you've probably noticed, guys, on the podcast, I really don't mince my words. I don't have a job that I can be sacked from. So, fuckies. This is my opinions, nobody else's. Gav's, nobody's.
Yes, Bob Malcolm does look a tad overweight. Yes, I would go that far to agree with you. Yes. Right. Overall, summing up the game, it was going to be a difficult one. And as one of the guys said earlier on, I don't know if it was Curran. He said we knew that we were going to get a few injuries tonight. It was going to be a kind of a tough tackling game. So could we have went in with other people? We did with Alston, we did with Scale. So if you were to compare we Taylor and we Juranovic, then I think Ralston and Scales were probably ready-made for this type of game. They can handle themselves a wee bit more. And then Giakoumakis. I think if Giakoumakis and Kyogo were both fit, 10 times out of 10, I would have started Giakoumakis tonight. It was just that type of game, that type of night where I wouldn't have bothered playing Kyogo. He could easily get injured for that. And but then again, apart from that, who else are we going to play? You know, We need to kind of keep a bit of momentum, that winning momentum. And if we drew tonight, it wouldn't have went to a second leg. It would have went to extra time. And that's the last thing that you really want. You just want to get the game wrapped up. You want to get the win, move on to the next round. And of course, the next round is the 5th round against Wraith Rovers. And we've got the home draw for that. So that's something. The next game that Celtic have got, that is away. So that's going to be an interesting one, away to Hearts. That'll be Wednesday, I would imagine, quarter to. I'm not too sure if it's televised. I certainly do hope it is televised. And
I don't think it is, Gav. I don't think it is.
Now, to the viewers, there's always a bit of needle between us and Hearts. By far, apart from Rangers, it's the other team that I dislike the most in Scottish football. So you can guarantee that we'll be doing a post-match review. Paddy,
yes.
I'm going to ask for your commitment to do a post-match review on Wednesday night. Are you on board?
Gav, you have my heart for the Hearts.
No pun intended. Right, okay, so Celtic and Hearts game. What's your thoughts going into the game, Paddy? We're not going to do a proper pre-match review. But Giacomakis, he's going to have to play again. Hopefully Abad will be fit. Maeda, he'll be gone by that point. So,
Gav, I don't see the point in playing Maeda for the next few months. I think they might play him against Hearts, but I don't really think.
No, he's been called up to Japan.
Oh, is it? Sorry. Is he away for the Hearts game?
Yes.
Right. So obviously he's going to play then. So obviously Giacomakis is going to be your focal point. It's going to then be between. Abada's obviously fucking injured tonight.
He's back.
Sorry?
Jota's back. So you've got Abada, and Giacomakis.
Aye, so you're going to be looking at probably a front line of Giacomakis through the centre, Jota on the left-hand side, and Forrest on the right-hand side.
You reckon so, aye, Forrest, aye?
Well, he was on the bench tonight, wasn't he? So...
Aye, would you put him ahead of Abada?
Yes. Oh, every day of the week. Every day of the week. And I'm a person that said I think Forrest should go to the end of the season. I think Forrest is a far superior player than Abada. The only problem is... sorry?
He's not shown it this season, Forrest.
Because he's been injured.
A bit tough fisticuffs in him, mate. I think this season, from where Forrest has been playing, he's... Well, in the last game that we had, he was playing on the left. I don't think he really plays...
By the way, Gav, I thought he was really good in the left because I think, as I said, I've said that Forrest should probably go at the end of the season because I think he's lost that yard of pace. I think he's kind of started to seize up a wee bit. I know he's only 30, right? He's not fucking...
At the end of the season.
I would say so, right? But when Forrest is a right winger, right? His job as a right winger is to take a guy on and gain the yards up the park. I think he's lost the yard of pace, so I don't think he can do that as effectively as he could. But when he plays on the left-hand side, he's still got that wee kind of quick turn of pace to take a guy on the inside. And we saw that at the start of last week when he played on the left-hand side. He had a wee quick sharp turn and he managed to drive through the centre in the midfield rather than trying to beat a guy on the outside. He drove it through the centre and he managed to get some space, which was good. You know,
I think we've got the luxury against Hearts. We do have the luxury of starting Forrest, and if he's not performing, then we can definitely throw on Abada. So again, like if what you hear for the viewers tonight, we're playing Hearts, we're playing Rangers. So who would you rather on the right hand side? Would you rather Abada, or would you rather Forrest? Interesting question. In the midfield,
There's the first one there. I'll answer this one. Alan Hafferty, Forrest far superior than Abada. Shut the fuck up. I'll tell you what, Alan Hafferty, you shut the fuck up because what's Abada done that's fucking far superior than James Forrest? You're fucking clown.
He's actually been playing this.
By the way, with the greatest respect, mate, how is Abada a far superior player than James Forrest?
By the way, Alan, apart from the shut the fuck up part, it's a good point that you've made. But certainly you've riled Paddy's flames there.
By the way, absolutely not. I love comments for the viewers. By the way, Alan, please retort. I would love to hear from you, mate.
Right, I think that Abada this season so far, especially after tonight's game with that curling effort, I think he's done just about enough to justify a starting position against Hearts. The Rangers
What?
game will take care of itself. So if Abada has a stinker against Hearts, then maybe Forrest will start. But I think Abada's done enough to play against Hearts.
Aye, but is he better than James Forrest?
Hey, who's better? Like, Forrest has got far more experience. Totally agree with you, but he's done hee-haw this season.
But is he better
And
than James Forrest?
that's because of injury. But when he's been given time on the field, unfortunately, he's not impressed. Maybe he needs like a run of games, like 3, 4, 5 games to go up to speed. But do we have that luxury going into Hearts and Rangers in the next
I know,
2 games?
but is Abada the type of player that can come back from injury, play one game, and fucking drive us through a cup final? Like James Forrest.
I don't know. He's not had an injury.
And by the way, I ain't fucking James Forrest's biggest fan, but James Forrest is by far a better player than fucking Abada.
But you still want to get rid of Forrest at the end of the season?
No, I think James Forrest has done as much as he can do at Celtic, and I can see that he's lost a yard of pace. That's why I'm saying when he moved to the left-hand side last week, I saw him as being more effective on the left-hand side as he is on the right-hand side, because he's not going to drive and go and take a man on. But Abada doesn't do that either. Abada fucking cuts inside every single point. Do you know what I mean? How many times does Abada go and drive down the right-hand side, gain his yards up the pitch, and beat a man on his left-hand side?
Right, in the last game that we played, I'm just going to flip my chart back to go 1 week ago. So Celtic and Hibs, Abada started. Now, his pressing down the right-hand flank managed to make Hibs make a mistake, and he won the ball back for us. So his intervention was there to see in the first goal, and then in the second goal, it was him who won us the penalty. He forced a handball, and that's him just being direct. So he does let. Although his decision making might not be the best, although he might not be the best technically as well, I think that he still has a lot to offer.
Listen, I'm not saying anything against Abada. I just don't think he's performed as well this season as many people can have.
He's been hot and cold. He's been hot and cold.
Of course he has. But what I'm saying is, right now, you take Abada and you take James Forrest. Who's the better player?
Both of them on their game.
I would say James Forrest, mate. Every day of the week.
Yeah. But both of them at the top of their ability. Yeah, James Forrest right now, but he's not.
By the way, and that's not me saying that Abada's no better than James Forrest. He's not going to be better than James Forrest. But James Forrest has shown his quality this season so far. He's been out injured for the majority of the season. He comes in for fucking 2 or 3 games. What does he do? He plays in the fucking semi-final, gets us into the final by being James Forrest. The guy is so clinical that many people overlook it. And it seems to be older people, and I don't even know why that's a fact, but many older Celtic supporters overlook this fact of how clinical James Forrest has been. James Forrest has been one of our best players in the last fucking 10 years. But people don't like him for a reason. But I genuinely don't see why certain people will be saying Abada is better than James Forrest. That's my point. What's his name? Sorry, my apologies. Alan Halferty. By the way, loving the comments tonight, guys. Especially yourself, Alan.
Thank you for the interaction, and don't be scared of Paddy the Baddie. If you disagree with Paddy tonight or disagree with me, just fucking let us know. That's how this podcast thrives. A bit of interaction between us and the viewers. Right, okay, so an interesting debate we've had between me and yourself about Forrest, and certainly with the viewers as well. The last kind of question I'll ask you is...
Sorry, Gav, just before you go into that, we can't leave Joseph Agnew. Joseph Agnew is one of the best guys out, always commenting on the podcast, so we need to get his opinion in, please. Joseph Agnew, hail. Forrest needs game time, so Abada needs to play. Forrest missed 2 chances in 2 different games. Can't afford to waste a sub. Hard choice. Hail, keep the faith. And bend over, you can go and shove a fucking dildo up your arse, you prick.
You don't know what you're talking about. Was that to me or was that to you? You don't know what you're talking about.
I don't give a fuck. His name's bend over, mate. Fuck off, prick.
To bend over, please take Paddy's words with a pinch of salt. He's had a hard time tonight watching Celtic play Alloa. Paddy, you buck up your ideas, pal. You don't be insulting of yours. That's terrible behaviour of you.
By the way, listen, if you're going to come on, don't fucking name yourself bend over, right? Because I'll slaughter you. Right?
That's his name. It's not directed to you.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if it's his real name or his fucking online name. Bend over. Fucking spin on that, you prick.
Oh, mate. Mere comments.
I'm joking. I'm having fun. I'm only joking. Sorry.
Right, Paddy. Last question. The midfield going into the Hearts and Rangers game.
Yes.
So, right, Rogic is off. He's off ski. So I would say, I know that Ange likes to go more offensive than defensive, but I'm going to assume that McGregor's okay for the next two. I'm going to go for McGregor. Going to go for Rio Hatate. How could you not? I'm also thinking, should Gucci be playing or should Beaton be playing?
I'm going to go with
Beaton. I don't think Beaton's done enough to be. I know that I appreciate that we're giving Gucci a chance, and I know that tonight was a bit of a catwalk for him. But I would still play Beaton, McGregor, and fucking Rio Hatate for the next two games. Would you think of that?
just before I comment on that, mate, just a guy that's been commenting on it, I'm going to bring his comment up. Hoggy boy, I'm 38 and I love Jamesy, but Abada is a good player and is only going to get better. By the way, listen, I'm no arguing who's the best player, but what I think who is the best player right now, I think Forrest is the best player as it stands.
Paddy, you've been outvoted tonight.
No, but listen, see if Abada grows to be a better player than James Forrest, I'll be happy with that, right? But as it stands now, James Forrest offers so much more than Abada. But anyway, the question was, who's going to be the midfield for the next game, Gav?
Yeah, For Hearts and Rangers, two big games.
Right. So it's probably going to be a simple one. That it's going to be Beaton, Gucci. Beaton, Hatate, and Rogic.
Right, Rogic is away, mate. He's off to Australia.
Sorry. Yes, my apologies. I'm a dick. I'm fanny.
Right, but assuming McGregor is able to play, I would play Beaton, McGregor.
Mate, McGregor's not going to play because McGregor's probably broke his cheekbone or something. Just because obviously the way that he was kind of signalling to the bench. So
okay.
You're probably talking maybe Beaton. I would probably say Beaton, Ideguchi, and Hatate.
Aye. That doesn't fill me with confidence, man. If McGregor's
no, it doesn't. But do you know what? It doesn't really.
We need to roll our sleeves up, man. And
no. But do you know what? See McGregor being out, mate. It doesn't really it doesn't fill me with fear. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh fuck, Callum McGregor's it, because Callum McGregor hasn't been the best midfielder this season at all. He's not even been close to it. He's not even been the best midfielder on the team. Rogic has been the best midfielder on the team. I get that Cal Mack's the captain. He's the focal point in the midfield, but I'm going to say it now, mate. He's replaceable.
He's replaceable.
Yes.
Are you basing that on tonight and the last game against?
No. I'm basing that on the entire season.
I totally disagree with you in that case.
No, by the way, and fair enough. I absolutely appreciate that, mate. But I'm saying Callum McGregor is replaceable. Okay,
so this season he's not impressed you, and certainly
no. Let me explain it, Gav. Let me explain it. Callum McGregor's been decent this season. No. Right? I'll ask you a question, Gav. Has Callum McGregor been so good this season that he's undroppable?
Over the course of the season, on a whole?
The entire season.
Well, aye, because who are you going to drop Callum McGregor for? Aye.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking, has Callum McGregor been so amazing, so brilliant as a captain that he's undroppable? You can't drop him for anybody.
I wouldn't use the word amazing, but yeah, the general answer to your question is yeah. Who are you going to
Mate,
drop him for? You're not going to bring in McCarthy for him. You're not going to bring in a Sorrow for him. So
Listen, I'm not saying that he's been shite. Absolutely nowhere near it. What
But
I'm
who's
saying
the
is,
who's dropping him?
no. What I'm saying is, I don't think he's been fucking brilliant. I don't think he's played anywhere near his top level. That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't go for hyperbole to describe him for this season, but he's been a solid 7.5 in most games. I would go for that. I don't think that I'm waxing lyrical about his performances when I say that, a 7 or a 7.5. But if you think he's droppable, then who would you have had in his place?
No. I'm not saying he's droppable. I'm saying, is he undroppable? Is he?
Yeah,
plays...
it's either one or the other. So he's either droppable.
No, it's not. I'm saying, is he played that well that he can't be dropped?
Yeah. I would answer in the affirmative to that question. Yes.
So he's undroppable.
Yeah, over the course of this season. Now, whenever you say he's droppable, that implies that you've got better players waiting in the wings.
No, it's not.
Well, you don't have. I don't understand the question then.
No. I'm not. Listen, I'm not trying to start a debate. I'm not trying to say that Callum McGregor is the greatest fucking midfield in the world. What I'm saying is, I don't think. Listen, I think Callum Mac's been great this season, but I don't think he's been as good as he can be this season. You look at games like today. You look at games like Hibs against last week. Callum McGregor was fucking dead quiet, mate. Callum McGregor has been very quiet in several games this season. Callum McGregor, for me, needs to up his game in the bigger games this season. And that's not me saying that he needs to be dropped, that he's shite, or there's better players in the squad. That's me saying that the guy who is the captain needs to be playing better in certain games, which Callum McGregor has been very quiet in.
Right. Well, that point I can get behind that he can be doing better.
That's what I'm saying, mate. I'm not trying to instigate that Callum McGregor's shite or James McCarthy's better or anything like that. I'm just saying the guy who is the captain needs to be shown more. For me, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. I can maybe get behind that, but the point you're making earlier, it sounded a bit different. But you might have kind of refined your point there. You might have rephrased it.
Gav, I'm sorry, give me 2 seconds again, mate. Just the way he's trying to run out the front door. Give me 2 seconds, mate.
Okay. I go to them. Fucking hell, man. To be honest, Paddy is making some terrible points. So if I was his Wayne, I'd be getting out the house as well. But guys, what do you think about Paddy's crazy comments? That I think Paddy kind of changed his tune there a wee bit. I don't think he even really understands what he's saying. But to suggest that McGregor has not been good this season, I think is wide of the mark. And if I'm being too complimentary to him, then let me know. But I think he's been a good 7 out of 10, near enough every game this season. And to say that, I wouldn't say he's been brilliant, but very, very steady. And whenever you play in the number 6 role, which what Callum McGregor has been doing, then naturally you go a bit more unnoticed. But whenever you're playing more advanced, then that's when you get the plaudits. That's why Turnbull and Rogic have been kind of in amongst the goals and amongst the assists to an extent this season. But whenever you play in the number 6 role, it's a tough shift. There's no glory behind it. And I think McGregor's big enough, he's got broad enough shoulders to do that type of role. So we'll wait to get that awful back.
Sorry to leave you hanging, Gav, again, mate.
Is there any comments to respond back to those ridiculous comments that you were making earlier on, mate?
Aye, chill, Paul. Paddy, away and have another sniff of glue, for fuck's sake. By the way, mate, I tell you what, if I had any glue, I'd go and fucking sniff it. Joseph Agnew, the legend that is. Now, this is a man that's been following Glasgow Celtic for about 55 years. Hail, Paddy. I agree. What Paddy is saying, McGregor has been quiet, and for me, he is. McGregor is missing for 6 weeks, so somebody else will come in. Hail, keep the faith. Well, I'm actually getting a few wee kind of messages in and this and that, Gav. And it's all talking about Calmac possibly being injured for at least a month, which isn't it's no great at all. But what do you do? You need to go with your squad, don't you?
You need to play Beaton. You need to play Hitachi. And
listen, Gav, Beaton's been good this season, mate. He's been playing midfield. And I have been one of Beaton's biggest critics, as you'll know. But when Beaton has been playing in midfield this season, mate, he's been reliable, dependable, and he's been good. So, I don't know.
Another alternative is to play Ralston at right back and move Josip Juranovic into the right-hand side of the midfield. You get him, Hatate, and but then again, that means that Gucci is playing on the bench. You've got McCarthy on the bench. I think we'd all agree that McCarthy is probably going to be on that bench. That Gucci is ahead of him in the pecking order. But it doesn't make for
or as we're getting a few comments on the sideline, Gav, the new guy, Matt O'Reilly.
Oh, I fucking totally forgot about him, man. He never made the bench.
I think he couldn't play tonight, Gav, because of red tape. But as far as I'm aware, he can play from now on. So thanks to Alan Halferty for pointing that out.
Cheers, mate. We totally forgot about him now.
Yeah, Scott Howe, Glue's making a big comeback retro. Aye, you probably know, mate. Fuck up. By the way, I used to stuff Glue when I was 16. It's fucking shite. I'd rather fucking snort ectos or something. So get up these.
I'd rather snort fucking wasabi, man. That'd be fucking better than Glue.
Right, Paddy. That's only because you can get away with it. Anyway, listen, this is what it's all about, guys. We're here to have a laugh. I'm not having any direct comments to anybody. I'm just here to have a fucking bit of crack. So keep it coming. It's great. Thank you.
Paddy, on that note, why don't we conclude it for this evening? We've got the Hearts and Celtic game on Wednesday. Yes. And we will do a post-match review of that. As we said, regardless win, lose or draw, we will do a post-match review because there's always a bit of needle between us and the diets from Edinburgh.
Yes, mate. Hopefully Scott Howe's kicking a bit because a few minutes of issues in a glue for the Cumden. You're right, mate. I've been there. And you need a few of them. Sorry, Gav, what was the question? My apologies.
The question is... No, there is no question. Just we're going to end it tonight and we're going to be back in Wednesday night for the post-match review.
Aye, absolutely. I don't know who'll be here, but Gav, will you be here?
Myself and you've already committed yourself.
Wednesday, I'll be here Wednesday. I'm hoping that we will see another emphatic win in the capital for the Celtic on Wednesday. And it takes us fucking right up the arses of the fucking smelly, rancid bastards in Govan. Because I tell you what, Gav, they're going to start shouting themselves, mate. They really will. Things are changing, mate. Things are changing. I can smell it.
I don't know. Was that the glue or something? Where did you have the fingers before?
I'm not telling you. And not here. And the loving cup.
Right. Anyway, for a post-match review, we went over an hour, so that's pretty good going. And Paddy, you have been talking a lot of shite tonight, so yes. I appreciate that. You brought in the comments. Right. Okay. So another win tonight for Celtic. We beat Alloa, onwards and upwards to the 5th round. We've got Wraith Rovers. But first and foremost, on our horizon, we've got Hearts on Wednesday, so we'll be back for that. And Del Boy,
we'll see you on Wednesday, you fucking scudbook.
Fucking help me moderate this retrobate here.
By the way, listen, everybody in the viewers, thank you so much for commenting in. I'm absolutely pissed because it's Saturday night. I don't give a fuck. So it was great to interact with you. Joseph Agnew, I love you, by the way. I'd love to get you on the show. Hi, Paddy. You talk sense. Don't listen to anybody. Nobody bigger than the great club. Thanks for that, mate. but I'm a dick. I don't give a fuck.
I appreciate you giving moral support to Paddy, because sometimes he does need it, because he's certainly not going to get it from me. He's looking in the wrong places if he's looking for that sort of consolation. Right, anyway.
Joseph, thank you very much, mate. Here's to you.
Aye. Thank you for getting up your Saturday night to listen to us talk absolute pish. But thank you for being on the journey with us. So, from the jungle gyms, from me and Paddy, it's been a good one. Good night.
Cheers, tips.